The statement was made in the National Assembly by the Deputy Minister for Industry, Trade and Marketing, Lazaro Nyalandu, when answering a question in the House. However, he warned that the government will not tolerate unscrupulous traders who will use any form of opportunity to get the important commodity and smuggle it across the border. He said during the months of April, May and June, normally most sugar factories are closed for maintenance and sometimes shortage of the commodity may occur, but this time the situation has been exacerbated by massive smuggling of food crops, including maize, across the border. Responding to another question, the Minister for Constitutional Affairs and Justice, Selina Kombani, said there has been no study to show Tanzanians who know the current parent law, but that does not prevent anyone from participating in the process of the new proposed constitution.
Dar es Salaam Regional Commissioner Saidi Mek Sadiq has clarified on power blackout in Dar es Salaam and the Isles, causing inconvenience to residents of the two affected areas. His report.
He told a news conference after visiting Ubungo power plant that a blackout was caused by a big explosion due to a technical problem on the national grid reactor. He also warned petty traders and other vendors at Ubungo power plant, owned by Tanzanian electricity supply company TANESCO, not to display their products on the fence of the plant. Mr. Sadiq emphasized that for safety reasons, the petty traders should leave the area and find an alternative place for their activities.
The Norwegian government intends to provide academic capacity building to experts from more than 20 African countries, including Tanzania, to expedite development in their countries. Here are the details.
I think the challenge is, to make these activities really anchored at the institutional level so that they are not dependent on external financing, so that sustainability can be the rule and not the exception, that these programs can really stand on their own legs and not depend on external finance.
The U.S. International Center for AIDS Care and Treatment Program, ICAP, has donated medical equipment worth more than 95 million shillings to 4 health centers in Kigoma region to help pregnant mothers to deliver safely. Here are the details.
The donation to Nguruka, Nyanzige, Kifura and Janda health centers includes beds, mattresses and chairs. The donation was presented to the Kigoma Regional Commissioner, Issa Machibia. ICAP Country Director Dr. Joseph Chintoa said his agency will also continue to support people living with HIV/AIDS in Tanzania. Mr. Machibia said his region continued to face major challenges in delivery of health services, particularly availability of drugs and shortage of medical manpower.
Ibingu villagers in Kilosa district in Morogoro region have devised land use planning and participatory management of forests for their own benefit and future generations. Here's more on the story.
The decision by Ibingu village in Lumuma ward was reached during the village assembly, which allocated areas for various uses, including settlement, farming and livestock keeping. Speaking to reporters who visited the village, residents said the move has been taken in order to avoid environment degradation and disappearance of water sources. The initiative is under a project called Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation, implemented by Tanzania Forest Conservation Group, TFCG.
The political elite in the country have been urged to exercise self-restraint, act selflessly and refrain from championing personal interests at the expense of the greater public. Our reporter Roberto Cheng has the details on the story.
Officiating the launch and exhibition of books authored by the late Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, John Magoti said such exceptional character traits made the founding father of the nation stand out as a true leader.
He decided to quit the job because he was committed to serve his people, particularly the poor. Mwalimu had an agenda of leading his people to the political independence. And indeed, that task was accomplished on 9th December 1961. That is why this year we are commemorating 50 years of our independence.
The event, which was organized by the Mwalimu Nyerere Foundation, saw 3 books written by the former president: Freedom and Liberation, Freedom, Non-Alignment and South-South Cooperation, and Freedom and the New World Economic Order, which have been reviewed by scholars from the University of Dar es Salaam.
I reviewed the book by Mwalimu Nyerere, and the name of the title of the book is Freedom and Liberation, and the major theme of the book, as the title of the book itself reveals, is the relationship between freedom and liberation. And Mwalimu relates the idea of African freedom with the total liberation of the people. And there are two major ideas about freedom. One is the freedom of African countries from colonialism, but secondly is the freedom or liberation of the humankind.
He emphasized that first, the issue of development. That when you talk about development, we are talking about development of people, not of things. And development not in terms of the growth of GDP. And he gave an example. He says, if you open mines in your country, your GDP will immediately shoot up. Is that development? Because in the process of building those mines, you may have displaced hundreds of thousands of people from their areas. Can that be called development?
And that's the end of the national news. The African news is next after the break.